in this case, the some of the stories were made to be spoken, and some were written. So in this new show, the Nerve Bible, there's a kind of combination of the spoken and the written, and I think they kind of can coexist just fine, actually. What I like to do is different kinds of things. I also have a CD-ROM coming out, which is like hours of music, and it's called Puppet Motel. It's coming out on Voyager as soon as we succeed in fixing the code. And for me, that has a whole different flavor from anything, and I'm finding that like a kind of ideal art form, because for me it combines a lot of stuff, lots of text, pristine digital audio, and like really beautiful images. Also, it's the trickiest thing in designing that was how to figure out who, in CD-ROM language, it's called the user, what to do. What used to be called the reader or the listener now has this really powerful role of, being able to do all sorts of stuff with graphics and sound and text. And I think this art form, CD-ROM, is not for all artists, because you got to go with the fact that people are going to change what you do significantly. And for a lot of writers, for example, one editor is a form of torture. They're thinking, whoa, you take that sentence out over my dead body, or edit this tape and you're in trouble. This way you've got not one editor, but 5,000. Being able to think in visual terms as well as musical ones. A lot of the general language, visual language of CD-ROMs, it kind of looks like, heavy metal record covers, with the bleeding gothic graphic, words and the nights and the craggy mountains and this kind of look. And a lot of that's because it's easy to draw craggy mountains in Photoshop, but it's also just the way they happen to look. So the other element is the catchword interactive. Now, to me, most CD-ROMs that are out are just sort of pretend work. I'm saying you're kind of pushing these buttons and you're not really sure what they're doing, but probably not much, just kind of accessing various areas. I mean, to me, interactive is like hearing a piece of music that changes the way I listen to things, or changes my mind about, about something, or reading a book that changes my life. That's interactive, not pushing buttons. And so that really was the hardest thing in trying to design this, so that people could really invent their own things. We've actually even put codes in the books of codes into the CD-ROM, so if you want to rewrite the whole code, you can do that. I'm a nerd.
Yeah, you are.
I've got 11 computers, and I spend probably half my time reading manuals. And I mean, not that that's so anything. It's just what I like to do. And they're my tools. I need to figure out how they work. So that's it's not like I worship technology. Oh, maybe I do. I've been using computers for maybe 15 years. So yeah, I feel like I've been using them for all my life, but of course I haven't. I can't even remember when I didn't use them. On our tour, we have this project called the Green Room, which means we have a bunch of people who set up computers in the lobbies, and they can talk to people. And instead of go and do a show, thank you, good night, that's it. We can keep on having some kind of contact with people. So that's really great. But you have to find the spots on it. It's not like television where you just dial around and there it is. It's a little harder to find, and I think it's going to take people a while to figure out how to use it. Hopefully by that time it won't have gone the route of most, independent record labels, that is, disappearing, or cable TV shows, local shows that also have disappeared. And for right now, it's an actual free zone. We'll see how long it takes before you start getting charged for everything, and also then there start to be rules and censorship. And
you like the fact that there are no rules?
What?
You like the fact that there are no rules?
That's the thing I like the best about it. And I have a feeling that it won't be for long, because it's just the way this country runs. As people figure out how to, make it a business.
Are you afraid of the business aspect, the commercialism creeping in, or the regulation or Big
Brother? I'm afraid of
Brother?
the censorship, and I think that we're living in a country that's increasingly conformist, and so somebody's idea of what's appropriate means that everybody has to work on the level of 8th grade communication or something, or So, in other words, it's a very repressive time in many ways, and I don't know that there's some kind of agenda to get rid of that stuff. I think it has more to do with marketing. That it's easier to dress everybody up in the same outfit and give them all the same records to listen to, and that's it. Charge them for it.
I've heard you say, and I've seen in print, if I can recall, not specific instances, but just a general feeling. I know that you have done a lot of traveling and that you are someone who appreciates the world of music as opposed to world music. But why doesn't someone like Laurie Anderson reject the technology, go up to Tibet, and just record an album with the lowest tech possible to get the most human feel out of folk musicians? Why don't you do that?
Well, I think that's an interesting thing. I don't think that human feel always comes from local folk artists. I think human feel can come from machines as well. And I happen to be the kind of artist who really loves electronics. I always have. And I think that you can make them human. I know that you can. Our whole show has tons of computers in it, this Nerve Bible show, but it's what's called a free running show, and I know that people who see it recognize the fact that these are not decisions that are being made by computers, but by actual people. I don't think you have to say that technology is inhuman. I think it's completely neutral. I don't think it's bad, good, inhuman, not human. It's just a tool, and that's all it is. It's an instrument.
What about the last time we talked? You had mentioned, and I had also read about, a fascinating concept that seemed like something that might get done before the end of this decade, and that being that theme park idea. Is that still on the
It's
schedule?
in a bit of a hiatus now, but we have a lot of information on our website about that. So people who would like to find out about it can, in great detail, get information from, it's called the greenroomvoyagercode.com on the web. And you can also then link to Peter Gabriel's site, to Brian Eno's site, and there are all kinds of diagrams and essays and all sorts of stuff about the theme park on the web. So, are there any coffee shops in Boston where you can get online?
I don't know, to be honest. There might be.
Oh, that would be so great. See, I think that would be ideal. As just thousands of kind of libraries, so that it was real cheap to do it. That would be my dream of how to use tech stuff in a good way.
Is it still the three of you, generally speaking, though, or do you have other backers, or are you waiting for financial assistance, or what's the? Are you just too busy with your own thing right now to concentrate on it?
Well, it's a combination of those things. It's a very expensive project. We do have the land in Barcelona. We have, the planning things, which really take a huge amount of time. Are Peter went away on tour. Now I'm on tour. We're trying to coordinate this thing, and in many ways, I have It's really a long topic. It's
I just wanted to know that you were still.
I'm up.
At least I just want to know that you were at least.
Yeah, we're at least still pursuing it. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Do you mind talking about Lou and the musical as well as personal impact on your life?
Well, one of the reasons I'm playing a lot of violin in this show is because we've been playing a lot together just for fun, and I haven't jammed since high school, and it's so much fun just to, usually when I do a record, it's, booking the studio, writing the music. It's not so much about just playing for fun. And so that's I've started to play a lot differently because of that. Louder, for one thing, and I think the sound in the show is a lot rougher than the records, as all live shows usually are. But there's also some guitar in it that I'm playing, and some keyboards, but not as much as in the past, because I think in a live show, it's not so interesting to see and watch somebody play keyboards. It's about as interesting as watching somebody iron. It's pretty dull. And I love instruments that you can carry around and hold, and there's a very big set in the show as well. So there's a 36-foot long I-beam, and screens run along that, and then half our set flies in and out. So it's a very visually based show. There's a lot of lots of images, video projection mostly, and a lot of sort of electronics as well.
I wanted to run a couple of things by you and get your reaction. Mm-hmm. First is Cirque du Soleil.
I think it's great to do things with no animals. That's one thing. I trained animals always give me the creeps, so I like that they don't do that. And I think the idea of sort of experimental circuses is great, although the best experimental circus I saw was something called Circus Oz, which I don't think has ever toured in the United States. They're an Australian group, and they did stuff like, you'd look up and suddenly there'd be a whole cafe set hanging upside down from the top of the tent, and suddenly you'd be in this 40s music, and a guy would come into this cafe and he'd drink wine upside down, which was I could never figure out how he did that trick. It was a really great trick. And then a band would appear and all their hair would be on fire. They had stuff like that. It was really great.
What about the Big Apple Circus?
Well, I have to admit I did like the trained animals in that one. They had my favorite show of theirs began with just all these horses, this great purple light, really romantic music, and about 10 horses galloping around with no trainers, nobody with a whip, and they were doing this dance, perfectly choreographed. It was so gorgeous, and I thought, wow, do animals like to dance? Did they make this up? What is this? It was really great.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Angels in America?
I saw the first part of it, and I don't know. I'm just, I guess, plays don't grab me as much as music, I guess. So, it was Broadway stuff isn't really my favorite stuff. I just should say,